let's do it. Okay. Folks, although I didn't let you know about this before, I am going to start each class period with just a really short quiz. It'll be very straightforward like this. Don't panic. A couple reasons. Number one, just to review a major concept from last time, and also because I do like to start right away. So thanks for being here. I mean, if you're here, you did the exam, you got credit for it. If you show up late, then you don't get to do it, but that didn't apply to anybody. Okay? Cool. Good. Onward then. Welcome to day 2 of CSE 505 Foundations of Information Technology. Looks like most of us survived. That's a good sign. Okay? Did you? Good. We'll discuss homework if you have questions about that. The last week's set that was due yesterday, we'll also talk a little about the upcoming set. But we'll do that in either our second or third hour together. I do want to kind of jump into things right away. The first unit of CSE 505 is meant to overview not only the course, but also the entire curriculum. So one of the major things I'm going to be doing today is talking about some things that an IT professional needs to know, and then connect it to certain aspects of our curriculum. Okay? Now, I hate it when this doesn't work. Let's try this again. Oh, it worked. You said I should spend more time with our children, so I turned their faces into icons. Being a graduate student means that you're going to have to prioritize. And there's going to be certain things that you would like to do that you probably won't be able to do because you're doing this here. I teach all day long, and I also teach 3 nights of the week. So in the half hour I had between my class before this, I had my wife drive up here, and we sat in her van, and we talked to each other for 10 minutes. Yeah. So if you have to do the same thing, I completely understand that. Don't turn your kids into icons, though. I mean, it's okay. You could spend some time with other people. But I understand that this is an investment in time and energy, and I know that I'm going to be asking you to do things that are going to take away from other activities. But at the same time, hopefully I pointed this out last time, you asked for it. I didn't go out in the streets and make anybody come in here. You all came here of your own volition. So being a graduate student just means it's a little bit of work. You got a little bit of taste of that in the first homework set, and there'll just be more coming. Okay? Did we do Dilbert last time? All the classes kind of go together. I use this with undergraduates a lot. Hopefully I did it with you too. Dilbert is a cartoon, a comic strip that many tech people gravitate towards because although it is a little over the top, most people understand the theme here. So again, this person, the pointy-haired person, is the boss, the manager. A good manager leads by example. How does it help an engineer to see an example of how to be a middle manager? That's like teaching physics by showing examples of monster truck rallies. Should we say dumb things too, or have you not started leading by example yet? Now what is he doing? Are we supposed to do that? I think he's leading by example now. Okay, sorry. The boss wonders if everything he reads online is now wrong. Yeah, probably so. Okay, good. That'll be the last funny thing that happens in this class. Last time I shared with you some news articles from one tech news website, Yahoo News. Today we'll look at a different one. And my reason for doing this is I want you to get into the habit of checking news stories dealing with technology. I think it's just a good thing to do. You're likely online a lot doing other kinds of things, so if you could spend a tiny bit of time checking current events with technology, that would be good too. Now, you may already have your favorite site, and that's absolutely just fine. I'm just going to show you one different one each day. Some of them will be more general in nature. Yahoo Tech News and Google Tech News are much more general. Some will be more specific for things, but you'll gravitate to something you like. Again, are you going to understand every headline in detail? Likely not. Dropbox. Well, do you know what a Dropbox is? In Angel, a Dropbox is a place where we submit things, and of course there is a company that provides cloud storage called Dropbox also. If you're familiar with it, good. If not, drilling into that story and trying to figure out some things I think would be helpful. You probably know what Twitter is. You might have heard of this little company called Google here. Do you know what the fire hose deal is? Okay. Hi There is a dating app for pot smokers. We're not going to drill into some tech news just really isn't worthy of our time. Okay? All right. There's been a couple articles recently about Apple Watch. Last September, Apple Computer Corporation announced plans for their wearable piece of technology, Apple Watch, and it'll be released sometime, we believe, during 2015. A lot of industry pundits are saying, you know what? Apple really needs to do well with Watch. If you've been paying attention, iPhone sales are not quite as stellar as they once were. Doesn't mean they're slow or low by any means. iPad sales fell for the first quarter, last quarter of 2014. So Apple, like many tech companies, is all about what's next, right? If you have a 2-generation-old phone like I do, well, they don't give a rip about you, right? They're just concerned about what comes next. Okay, so what do we got here? Swatch smartwatch has a 0 chance against the Apple Watch. Okay. Apple is finally killing iPhoto. Oh boy, I can hardly wait for the replacement. And as you keep going through here, some of them you know, some of you won't know. You'll find things, obviously, politics is involved here. Net neutrality, if you're not familiar with that concept, I would expect you to try to look that up a little bit. Tech companies, Verizon, drops data plans by $10. Okay, that's good. All right, I'm not going to necessarily look at any specific one of these. Well, maybe I should, just so you can see. By the way, Google Tech News, like Yahoo Tech News, well, Google Tech News doesn't do a whole lot of their own independent reporting. Most of these stories are culled from other sites. You could see I drilled into this one, app usage, smartphone versus, and it's actually from a different site, Computer World. Yahoo does have their own reporting staff, and they do produce and break their own stories. Google, not so much, but they don't think they need to anyway. They're just culling this from other places. Okay. Is there a difference? How does app usage differ between mobile platforms? Here are insights based upon consumer research on app usage on smartphones versus tablets. 34% of U.S. smartphone owners use a messaging app on a monthly basis. Okay. It doesn't tell me what about on tablets. But anyway, it might be interesting to see, and that might give us insight, too, on, what are the differences between these devices, both as professionals supporting them or perhaps professionals creating apps for them. All right. Anybody come across a news story recently that you found interesting or exciting?
Well, interesting, exciting. This is pretty recent. Big corporation was breached or notified people that they were breached, affecting millions and millions of Americans.
Okay. Okay.
Deals with healthcare insurance.
Okay. Yeah. But wait, we have laws like HIPAA that would. Yeah. Okay. Data breaches are just terrible things, and unfortunately much more common than they need to be, right? Yeah. Always laugh at institutions that force me to change my password and chide me if my password isn't, strong enough. That's not the problem anymore, right? Individual hackers trying to get into individual accounts, they don't do that, right? They do this. They break the system at the core and then dump hundreds of millions of healthcare records. Yeah. Good story. Well, bad story, but good current event. Anything else news story that you came across recently? Oh, it's okay.
About net neutrality.
Yeah.
How that's going to play out once it gets past Congress at the end of this month.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
If you're not familiar with net neutrality, how Congress is going to deal with it, they're going to deal with it as a utility.
Mm-hmm.
That means right now we enjoy free internet access provided by various entities. They pay flat rates for a certain amount of bandwidth or so much pipeline to various places. If it changed to a utility, what's going to end up happening is, say for instance, this institution, they get, say, 10 meg pipeline or a gig pipeline out to their provider. Their provider is going to say, you've got a gig pipeline, we're not going to charge you for that gig pipeline, we're going to charge you for the data that goes across that pipeline in a given period of time. So how's that going to impact a place like this where they're paying a monthly bill based on usage rates, not just a flat rate for each connection? That
Right.
makes a big difference. So
Does.
are you going to start seeing free Wi-Fi disappear because those businesses are going to be paying for that?
Yeah. Very interesting. And that's the story that indicates that this is not a technological issue, right? This is a human being issue. This is a people issue. The social political structure involved there. No matter which side of the fence you come down, you recognize that it is that. Yeah. Good. Good. Well, let me just encourage you to keep your eyes and ears open. And again, you know, many of you have a lot of experience in IT, so when you see a headline like IBM threatens to lay off 100,000 workers, first of all, you know what an IBM is, but secondly, you realize that's not the first time that's ever happened. And thirdly, if you've been around a while, you know that IBM is going to hire back 100,000 workers. And companies do this all the time. See, what they do is they let go old folks like me, because old folks like me may cost a lot. The only place that doesn't happen is in academia, okay? But anyway, if you've been working at a company for 35 years or so, then you probably command a large salary. This is not unusual for tech. See, I see that article, that article came out, an undergraduate came to me and said, you said there are plenty of jobs. Look at this, IBM's going to lay off. I said, don't worry. You could get hired at IBM, even in the midst of this layoff, because you're rather inexpensive labor right now. That's terrible. I hate that stuff. All right, thank you. And oh, by the way, one of the assignments for this week is to find a current event and just to summarize it briefly. So if you haven't done that at all, this will be your opportunity to do so. Last time then, we began taking a look at some of the grand ideas of information technology. We ultimately came up with 9 different concepts, or what I usually call the grand ideas of IT. Let me just review those with you. It's important that you know a definition of each of these. However, please don't stop there. I want you to see it in a context, too. Okay? So last time we looked at these in groups of 3. And again, there's nothing magical or special about the order. You can put them in any order you want. Although, when you read Brookshire, you saw that Brookshire thinks that algorithms is the #1 of all the grand ideas, and you did that little assignment about algorithms in CS versus IT. But don't worry about the order. And as a matter of fact, if you're concerned because you think I'm going to ask you to list them all, I wouldn't necessarily do that. I might do exactly what I did in this tiny quiz, and that is, here's a grand idea, tell me what it means. Okay? Algorithm. Anybody want to tell me a definition of an algorithm? Step-by-step procedure. Method of problem solving. Okay, yeah, all those are good. I really want you to say problem solving with that somewhere. So whether you said step-by-step or methods or instructions, Yeah, as long as you understand these are the steps, the instructions, the methods that we're going to follow in order to solve a problem. Now, when you read Chapter 0 in Brookshire, you saw that Brookshire has a better definition, and we're going to come to that. Just saying instructions is really not good enough because there's special kinds of instructions, there's special characteristics for these instructions. And I may even last time have keyed you in on that by saying, you know, they need to be clear, concise, unambiguous, but we'll get there. That's a good start. Okay? Abstraction, a straightforward definition of abstraction is something like simplification. Exactly. Taking something complex and then simplifying it. Now again, there's more to that definition in IT than just to simplify, but that's where we started, and that's a good start. I think even last time we said simplify by agreement. There has to be a convention there. We have to agree this is how we're going to simplify. And the third one, I should do one of these, right? Not make you do them all. The third one, automation, is the simplest one because that means to run by itself. A process that is automated can run by itself. It can process unattended, if you will. Okay? Now, that's important to see, but I also want you to see those things in a context. Okay? Later today, and for the lab tonight, we're going to be taking a look at word processing. But not to learn word processing, because if you can't already do it, you need to figure that out on your own. But I want to demonstrate the issue of macros and creating a macro in the Office suite of products, beginning with Microsoft Office Word. If you're not familiar with a macro, I'm going to give you a definition, maybe a better one, after a little while. But a macro is an automated set of commands. A macro is an automated set of commands. For example, how many people here have used a macro before? And you're pretty sure you've done that. I won't go on here. Okay. How many people have created a macro before? Okay. Okay, good. That's good. If there's just a few of you, great, because that's what we're going to do. And if you haven't, first of all, they're powerful tools just for us as a personal productivity thing. You can get macros to do much of the drudgery that you would have to do in the Office productivity suites. For example, let's say you're always doing a similar type of task. Let's say you write a certain kind of document all the time at work, and somebody wants it formatted in a certain way. I'm just going to make things up. Okay? One paragraph needs to be normal, but the next paragraph needs to be, because it's the specs for the first one, needs to be indented and spaced a little differently and justified or whatever. It's just going to look different. Now, you know how to do that in your word processor. You know how to select the paragraph and issue those commands to do space and a half and move the margins in and justify such that the lines are equal and not ragged on either side. I'm sure you could do that manually. However, a macro will allow me to do that automatically. Now, for example, in any word processor, there are a number of algorithms. Every feature and function, every command sequence, every menu item, that's a feature or function, and that's supported by an algorithm. When you issue the command to spell check, there's an algorithm that does that. The spell check algorithm compares your data, your words in the document, to a dictionary file of correctly spelled words. So using logical operations, it compares your data to the dictionary. If it finds a match, it says, must be spelled correctly. If it doesn't find a match, it said potential, and it puts up the little window, I believe this is spelled incorrectly. How does it know that? It's an algorithm. when you issue save, when you issue print, when you issue double space, those are all algorithms, instructions for solving that problem that are part of the code of that word processor. Right? So, are there any algorithms in a word processor? Oh, you bet. And when we create a macro, what we're going to be doing is we're going to want to use those algorithms indirectly. We're not going to create the algorithm for spell check. I don't want to reinvent the wheel, right? But we're going to use that algorithm. This is a perfect example of what IT professionals do all the time. Very rarely will we create the thing from scratch. If your boss asked you to create a spell check from scratch, I would politely suggest that there's a better way to do it, and that is to use one that already exists. Your boss may say, but it doesn't know the name of our company. That's fine. We can add it to the dictionary. Right? That's what we do all the time in IT. We're going to take this pre-existing component, this spell check, we're going to apply and manage it, get it to do what we want it to do. Cool. So when we create a macro, we're going to that automated set of commands. Every command is really built on top of an algorithm. So fundamentally, we're going to be working with algorithms. Good. We didn't create them, but we're going to certainly apply them. Abstraction. Abstraction means to simplify. Macros will make my life or our user's life easier. Now, the macro won't do anything that the word processor couldn't do, but it'll just make it happen faster and easier. What you're going to see is we could take a number of commands and package them together and give them, in essence, a new name or a new command, such that when I say, run this, it will do those 3 or 7 or 29 commands that are part of the macro package. If I wanted to do those 3 things that I just said to the paragraph, indent it further, justify the text, do like a space and a half in between, is it easier to issue 1 command or 3? Exactly, 1. Right? That'll make life easier, especially when you do it over and over again. And one of the mantras in IT is, if you do something more than once, automate it. Right? Let the computer do the work. That makes sense to me. Automation is also part of this, directly with a macro. I'm going to set up the macro such that when I issue the command to run, it will do it automatically. Again, I don't have to say, go to this menu item, or click on this part of the ribbon, or do control whatever. It will just do it all automatically. The other advantage to automation is when you remove human interaction, then you remove one possibility of error. Anytime we have to do something manually, we can always introduce that human element of error. You know, you've done something so often like, okay, indent further, and then you just slip one time and you don't even notice because you're not paying attention. Algorithms, abstraction, automation. See not only the definition, but see how it works out in everything that we do in IT. And that was just one example. The next, I always take them in groups of 3. It's just to help me remember. And you notice that these groupings begin with the same letter for some alliteration. And if I didn't share it with you last time, there's also nothing magical about the terms. For some of these, you could probably come up with a different term, and that wouldn't bother me a whole lot. Information, interface, intelligence. I didn't define information. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't define intelligence for you last time. Information we defined as useful process data. In essence, information technology is about converting data, which is input, into something used to make a decision, and that's information. So information is the useful process data used to make a decision. An interface is a go-between, if that's even a word. By go-between, I mean something that stands between two other things facilitating communication and control. One interface that we work with is the user interface. How can I enter, date, and issue commands to a running system? And there are others. On the web, there are several interfaces. HTTP is the language of web data communication. That protocol facilitates communication and control between clients and servers. So, just another example of interface. Intelligence is the one that I didn't define, and I still don't want to do that today. Last time I probably said, we kind of know it when we see it. Human beings are intelligent. We have some innate problem-solving attributes, abilities, and characteristics. In order to solve a problem, you have to supply your intelligence to carry that out. I want to wait on that because I want to discuss with you artificial intelligence in the last unit of the course, and there the definition certainly has to come about. Okay. There's the definition and a little bit of description, but again, it'd be much better if we can put it in a context. Can we connect these grand ideas to something that's useful? Let me start with one, and then I'll see where we can go with this. Let me do the easy one. I'm going to pick interface. I'm going to go back to this example of creating a macro. Now, again, if you don't know exactly what that's about, don't worry, we'll do it. And just use my simplistic definition, a set of automated commands. Again, think about what you do in Word, and think about, I can make a button that will do these 3 or 7 or 29 steps. Okay? In order to create a macro, I must utilize the user interface. The way that I'm going to communicate with the system is via the user interface. The UI, the user interface, is both hardware and software. It's not just the fact that in a little while I'll be typing on the keyboard and using the mouse. The user interface is not just hardware. It's hardware and software working together to solve the problem. So in order for me to convey what I want done to the computer, I have to go through the user interface. Can you think of an example of information or intelligence in the context of creating a macro? Probably still too easy, right? It's okay. We're all shy. Well, think about it a little bit. Okay? I mean, you know what information is. And even though you don't know what intelligence is, you are. Okay? All right. It could be just too easy, and we don't want to get it. And that's fine. But the moral of the story is, don't stop at the definition. Be able to see it in context. And I'll try to do that a couple times throughout this course so you see how these grand ideas underlie what we're doing here. The last set of grand ideas, and again, I don't mean to say last, there's no real implied order here. Cognition, complexity, creation. Cognition, complexity, creation. The term cognition means understanding, comprehension. You're saying, why didn't you use the word understand? Well, see, I wanted a C to go along with those there. understanding, comprehension. You'll notice that some of these grand ideas, if not most of them, seem to apply to us as IT professionals, even more so than the system. Ignoring the concept of artificial intelligence, we don't necessarily expect our system to have cognition. I don't think my computer up here really understands the words I'm entering when I'm word processing. It really doesn't, right? The cognition comes from us. Complexity, I gave you a definition last time. And yeah, you know complexity means hard, but it's hard because there are many interrelated, thank you, pieces. Both of those have to go together. It's not just that you have 100 lines in your algorithm. It's that those lines are interrelated. There's a dependency, an order, perhaps. And then finally, creation. And again, I know this may seem a little confusing. And if this were a class in undergraduates, I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't use the term creation in two different contexts, but I'm going to do it with you. Because I already told you computer scientists create systems, and IT professionals apply and manage. But in the activity of applying the technology, we do end up creating things. Again, with the macro. I didn't create the algorithms for the code that underlies those functions. But when I create a macro, and I can legitimately say I'm creating a macro, right? Okay? So I am creating. But it's different because it's not from scratch. I'm using pre-existing building blocks. All right. So, okay, I'm going to stop apologizing. We create, so too do computer scientists, and it's different. I'll come back to these three and try to focus on them when we're stepping through the macro so you can see it. If I forget, would you please remind me? Okay. So, again, the grand ideas. Information technology, did I just say this? Is about applying and managing the technology used in solving problems. That's how we look at it in this course and throughout this curriculum. We believe that you will be better at doing this if you understand these grand ideas or at least can see them in certain context. These are the concepts that underlie the discipline. Does your spell checker hate it when you capitalize IT? The word "it" doesn't have two capitals in it. See, they don't really comprehend, do they? Last time I talked around this analogy with you, I didn't know if I did a very good job or not. Probably not. But if it helps, use it. But the idea of an analogy is this is supposed to be a bridge between what you know and what you don't know. So if you don't know anything about racing, it's not a very good bridge, is it? But I always talk about it because I enjoy it. But the idea, think about an IT professional as the crew chief. Now, when a race car comes into the pits to have tires changed and more gas and hand the driver the Gatorade bottle and those kinds of things, someone's coordinating all that activity. And that someone is called the crew chief. The crew chief needs to understand all the pieces of the puzzle. How in the world are we going to get that car and that driver across the finish line first? That's our job in IT also. Of course, we're not doing it for cars and drivers, but we're doing it for companies and colleagues. Our goal as an IT professional is to help our company win, and we'll do that by providing the tools that are necessary to have a competitive advantage. Most of us will not work for a tech company building technology as their primary product line. Now, I worked for Hewlett-Packard Company, and we built technology. But if you work for a financial institution, a non-tech manufacturer, or retail, or healthcare, or education, on and on and on, their primary product is not technology. But you might work as an IT professional there, and your goal is to focus on them, right? So we're a service department and a service organization. Yeah. We have lots of information technology. We just don't have any information. Okay. Okay. One of the things you're going to discover, some in this class and some in many other classes, is IT does not exist in a vacuum. You know, the first day I told you, some people treat information technology just by focusing on the computer, the hardware and the software. But an information system has three components: hardware, software, people. And people are really the most important component. You're going to discover many things in the world of IT that really deal more with people than deal with the technology per se. For example, if you're going to create technology for the United States government, the technology that you create by public statute must have reasonable accommodations for persons with disability. That's a good idea anyway. Right? It's always a good idea to think widely and broadly. Right? What if somebody is visually impaired? Would they be able to use your website on their tablet? Some you can't even see them. What if folks, all kinds of different disabilities? Can they not use their hands well? Can they not hear well, etc.? If you're doing business with the federal government, in other words, you're creating technology for them, a requirement is Section 508. Your technology must have reasonable access for persons with disabilities. I just discovered that my link was broken. You know, this stuff changes all the time, right? Oh, well, this one is. It must be the other one. Yeah, this is not the actual. If you just search on Section 508, you'll find many things from both the United States government and other individual companies there. In 1998, Congress amended the Workforce Rehabilitation Act to require federal agencies to make electronic and information technology accessible to people with disabilities. Inaccessible technology interferes with an individual's ability to obtain and use information quickly and easily. And Section 508 was enacted to eliminate those barriers. I point this out as one among many additional issues that we need to think about and be aware of. See, it's easy to get hung up and bogged down in the technology aspects of the development. There'll be plenty of those, right? We're trying to create a database. We're trying to create a database system with a specific view and security and blah 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 blah, and not think about the people that will be using it. Here's a hot tip: if you think about a system as hardware, software, people, you will automatically begin thinking about some of these other issues that are very important to us. There are, by the way, lots of companies that will assess your technology and tell you if it meets the reasonable criteria set forth. Okay, Section 508, persons with disability. All right. Now, if our job is to apply and manage technology used in solving problems, how do we actually do that? how do we apply technology, the application of IT? If I didn't tell you last time, I do follow a Roman numeral outline, and I will reset it at each unit. If you're wondering why this is 2, it's because last time we did 0 and 1. But I will caution you because I do sometimes pull things out at the last minute and put it sometimes there may be something missing or whatever. That won't bother you? Good. It's really here just to give you a framework or a structure, more to say, hey, where was 1? Well, it was back there. It's important to begin thinking of IT as a system and not just disparate pieces of technology. I already alerted you as to what an IT system is. The systems model says this: technology is hardware. Technology is also software. And a system is not just hardware and software. By the way, if I stop here, I'd call those two things a computer. But to talk about a system, we need to bring people into it also. And all the kinds of people we've already mentioned. Users, clients, information technology professionals, computer scientists, programmers, whoever all they might be. People are part of the system model also. Why use technology? Many problems can be solved manually or with non-technological means. So why in the world do we use technology? I know it's too easy, I'll just tell you. I'm not asking, sorry. Information technology provides, or at least should provide, 2 fundamental advantages. Number 1, productivity. Productivity is a quantitative measure. In business, productivity deals with the amount of something. An IT system should give us more good stuff. Right? If it took a clerk manually reading bills or something like that and typing up invoices, and that person could get X amount of bills done in an hour, we would expect our IT system to be able to do more than that, right? The productivity advantage is the amount of work accomplished in the period of time. So the system should do more than the manual or the non-technological solution. You're saying, obvious. I agree. The second advantage that IT should provide is efficiency. Efficiency is qualitative. It's a value or grade. In other words, the technology should do it better. Not only faster, but also better. Not only should what was our example? Electronic billing or something? I don't know. Reading a card, generating an invoice. Not only should our system, our IT system that's doing invoicing, be able to accomplish more in the same amount of time as a person, but it should do it better. There should be less mistakes, less GIGO, right? We shouldn't expect these silly input mistakes to cause catastrophic output errors with it. Now, I know you're saying, yeah, that's obvious. And yeah, it is here in the nice, cozy confines of our classroom. But in the hectic world of IT, sometimes people forget about this. I mean, I've seen systems that neither give a productivity or efficiency advantage. People are actually spending more time doing it with the system, and the results are worse. That's ridiculous. Humans must have saved so much time since the advent of computers. Sure, their efficiency eliminated many time-consuming tasks for us. So what do you guys do with all the time you save? Huh? A whole bunch of... It's hilarious, right? He's playing Pong. We don't even know what Pong is. A whole bunch of nothing, it seems. You know, in the second half of the 20th century, people talked a lot about the productivity and efficiency advantages that technology is going to give us. Computers were going to make... We were only going to have to work 5 hours a day because computers were going to be able to get more done, right? So we wouldn't have to work 8 hours. We'd have computers who'd be done in 5 hours. Did that work? No. What happened? More work. What's the reward for a job well done? More work. Right? Exactly. Right? It's true, we did get more done. We could get our job done faster, but guess what? It expanded. Okay, good. I spent the first part of the week installing our new productivity software. Then I used the rest of the week trying to make it interface with our time reporting system. So far, all it can tell me is how much time I'm wasting in this meeting. See, sometimes technology does... Okay. What's the goal of information technology? Why does IT exist at all? Sorry, still a rhetorical question. I'll answer it because I know it's too easy. Answer? Nope, there it is. That's it. Solve problems. And that's how we do it. By processing data into information. The goal of IT, the reason that we have IT, solve problems by processing data into information. Now, A, B, and C are saying, okay, all right, that seemed pretty high level. What I want to do next is share with you what professional societies have stated that an IT professional should know. There are several different professional societies in information technology. If you're not familiar, a professional society, maybe as the name implies, is a loose-knit affiliation, a society of professionals all in the same field. So, for example, you'll find physicians that have professional societies, like the American College of Surgeons. You will find teachers that have professional societies. You will have lots of different organizations and vocations and careers and jobs, and also information technologists. There are a couple primary ones, the ACM and the IEEE. I'll define them later. But those and a few others have come up with a so-called, do I have it here? I got to look. No, it doesn't. I don't have it here. They have come up with a BOK, usually pronounced Bach. A BOK is a body of knowledge. Most professional societies have developed a BOK, a body of knowledge. And what that is, this is sort of like the big book of everything to do with my discipline. For us, it'd be IT. And what the professional societies say is something like this. A working professional in the field of information technology should know these things. This is what you should know. When we put this curriculum together, you might think, well, we just sat around and dreamed up some things. Hey, that'd be cool to have that in here. What about this? Nah, I don't like that. We'll ignore that. Well, that's exactly what we did. But then we thought about it again and said, well, that might not be useful to you. So what we did instead is we went to the professional societies in IT, and we asked and we read and we looked at what they believe a working professional should know about IT. And we've all talked to lots of people. As a matter of fact, the neat thing about everybody who teaches in this program is we worked in the industry too, so in one sense we did ask ourselves. But we didn't stop there. We consulted many different people. And one of the things we looked at is this so-called body of knowledge, which another way of phrasing it is answering this question: what does an IT professional need to know? So, what I want to do is I want to go through some of these things with you, give you just a little background, but then also show you that we will cover this, if not in this class, in another course in the curriculum. I have this listed first because it is first. When I talk to people, last fall I had the opportunity to go and talk to a number of different IT companies. I went as far northwest as Seattle, Washington, and a couple different places. And wherever I went, I asked the folks at that company who would talk to me, what do you think a graduate should know? And when they asked why, I said, because that's what I want to share with them. And almost universally, one of the first things that they would say was, what would you think it'd be? Well, they got to know Python, object-oriented programming, relational database management systems, the cloud. No. Almost universally, the first thing they said is, they have to be able to interact with people in an ethical and moral way. Interesting. But when you stop to think about it, maybe it makes perfect sense. IT is more about people than it is about technology. So on day one, when I shared with you the technology program with a soul and what that actually means to us, this is what people want, too. They need you to be able to interact with other people. When I worked at Hewlett-Packard Company for a number of years, and I hired a lot of people. I was a mid-level manager at a time. I hired a lot of people. And I frankly got tired of hiring people from big-time engineering schools with really high GPAs. Because although they could talk to a box, and they could talk to this computer in ones and zeros, they couldn't talk to other people. And you know what? That did me no good. Because I had to satisfy clients, and we had to work as part of a team. And they couldn't communicate. So I said, forget it. I started looking for liberal arts people. Now, folks that had a degree in that, in computer science or IT, but went to a so-called liberal arts school. Because I knew they had to write and read and do a few other things to get through there. People and ethics. Oh, man. This is important. Very specific IT question. Imagine you work here at the IT corporation, and you've got an email system here, and you're sitting at your desk at lunch, and you're popping off a few emails, and people are sending you email messages. Can your employer read your email messages? Is this legal to do?
No.
Tell me another one. Yes. Absolutely. Unequivocally. Your employer can read your email messages. Now you're saying, what? Why is that? Why is that?
Well, I work for a government entity, and we have open records laws.
Okay, there you go. Open record law. You're not familiar with that? I mean, somebody could come and ask, hey, what was going on in that common council meeting or with the or whatever, and you have to provide those records. So, yeah, not only could somebody read them, they have to make them available. You bet. Yeah. Oh, well, sure, exactly. And of course, you know about national security, and we redact documents with other things in it. Exactly. Sure, good. Now, if you're wondering, what gives them the right? Sometimes that's correct. Sometimes they're interested in, how, what's going on here, who you're talking to, etc. But just at ground zero, it has to do with who owns the technology. Who does own the technology? You or your employer? Your employer. Okay. When you sign up for a job, okay, it's sort of like doing what. Go.
True also because they also own the information that circulates inside their company?
Yes, yes, and here's where it gets really, really tricky, because the information is separate from the infrastructure, the hardware and software and data, all really truly separate things. Legally, we haven't grappled too well with keeping those separate. Yeah, good point. Yeah. Regardless, the idea is because the employer owns the system, then the employer can see you are using it. And with most job applications, you're actually signing something that says, I waive my rights. My employer can actually read my mail, etc. Right? Sort of like a license agreement, when you're going to install a piece of software, there's all that stuff there that nobody reads. I'm sure I'm the only person on planet Earth that actually reads that stuff. Do you know I had a system crash one time because I was reading through the thing and nobody expected it to take that long. It's kind of funny. You'd be surprised all the rights you give away. Basically, with any license agreement, you allow the manufacturer of that software full legal access to your computer. Not just that software, but full access to anything on that computer. That's what most license agreements say. All right. Now, okay, that's the legality of the situation. Do I have the second question? See, the first one's a legal issue. The second one's a moral and ethical issue. Should an employer read your email? To that, I think we'd mostly answer no, unless or except. Right? If we had some concerns, if we had some suspicions about maybe illegal activity, maybe collaboration with a competitor, leaking company secrets or whatever it might be, then, yeah, potentially. Go. Yeah, great.
I'm responsible for our infrastructure in regards to electronic communication, and I have to, by rights, my superiors, if they are custodian, our information custodian, which is usually like our superintendent, if he makes a request, he's very specific. We've got to find this information, provide this information.
Right.
We do that. If we need to go into someone's account, HR has to be involved. So HR
Checks and
contacts the
balances.
person
Yeah.
going through your account with full information.
Right. Right. Good.
So that's how we handle the legal and ethical issues.
Great. Great. Yeah, great. Thanks for sharing. You guys, yeah, please do that. We hope there are some checks and balances and due process here. I just can't imagine that, somebody has so much time on their hands that just late at night they're reading through everybody's email messages, right? Maybe it happens.
Well, there is cases where a company, to protect itself from malicious attacks, they do put filters in email to look for certain key things.
Exactly.
So, in a way, that is reading the emails.
Yeah.
Not like.
Right, not with
context.
right, not with the
Like
context,
if you're
yeah.
a healthcare provider, they got to follow HIPAA laws. So they probably at their gateways, when messages leave their systems, they probably scan the message to make sure that confidential information in regards to patient care isn't released in that method.
Yeah.
And so yes, you're right. There's probably something at
Yeah.
gateways.
Yeah. Yeah. Good examples. Thanks for sharing those. Yeah. Good. Well, I guess as you can see, any one little tiny thing opens up a bunch of questions. And these are IT questions, right? They absolutely are. Good. We just did that. Thank you. Good. I do want to take a break in just a second, but let me share with you, we believe that this idea is so important. We are going to talk about it in every class, and we've done so already here and will continue to do so. But we have a required course in our curriculum. It's the 10 class, CSE 510A10, Vocation and Ethical Computing, where we're going to present many of these concepts and ideas, let you wrestle with them, and see the consequences of them. Okay? There'll just be a tiny bit of technology there. We're probably not going to ask you to code in Java or anything. But this is IT. This is part of it also. Remember, we offer each of our classes in two different modes. The 5XX are on campus, just like this. Accelerated on campus, 8 weeks, 1 night a week, 4 hours a night. The 8XX are online. Right now, pretty much asynchronous, but we're going to move to a different model. But you don't have to physically come every day at whatever time it might be. Sort of independent within some guidelines. Okay, folks, you've lasted quite a long time. Didn't mean to go quite that long without our first break, but let's stop now and take a break.
So stand up, walk around, come back at 10 minutes at quarter after.